Welcome to this Windows and Computer channel, and we're going to talk about a little something that a lot of you used if you've been using computers as long as me. Windows 98, 20th anniversary today. Yep, Windows 98 was released on June the 25th, 1998. It is incredible. I kind of remembered it was yesterday. So, Windows 98, of course, was following Windows 95. And Windows 95 was a huge hit. I mean, people today probably don't think about that can't even imagine that. But Windows 95, when it was released, there was actually lineups at midnight in stores for people that wanted to have it because it was so popular. It's something that we probably can't imagine today. And of course, was followed by Windows 98 that was released. And Windows 98 was not a big game changer. So if you had Windows 95, Windows 98 mostly improved on what Windows 95 was. It included more stability, and it kind of tweaked Windows 95 to make it look a little better. There was, of course, some new technologies and some interesting stuff, but it is really interesting to see that it was pretty popular once again as an operating system. It was a follow-up that a lot of people wanted to see. What was new in Windows 98 compared to Windows 95? So there were a few changes. There was more protection for important files, and the registry would actually have an automatic backup. All sorts of little things that would kind of make it, try to make it improved. There was improved support for new technologies. So Windows 98 was the first one to include MMX support. Better plug-in, USB plug-and-play. DVD support. We can't think about that, but DVD was still in its infancy on PCs at that time. IEE 1394, AGP for graphics, ACPI, so that's power management basically. Windows 98 was different. It was able to do a little more than Windows 95. It was the first operating system that could transform your drive into FAT32. Before that, most drives were in FAT16. So, that changed a lot. FAT32 meant that we could use bigger drives. Of course, improved plug-and-play support. Windows 98 came with Internet Explorer 4.0. So lots of little things. There was a active desktop mode. I don't know if you guys remember that, but you could customize your desktop to be like almost a web page if you want. Yet it wasn't used much because it was often crashing. So all sorts of little things like that. New file formats for pictures that you could set your wallpaper in the background, stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And it included Outlook Express, for those that remember that. There was a front page Express kind of thing. Windows Media Player, DirectX, there was NetMeeting. What did the desktop look like? Well, it looked like this. Yep, this was a Windows 98 desktop. Not, when we don't need to go back that far to kind of have a similar look. Windows XP could be dumbed down to look like this. It was the first. Windows XP was the first one that actually changed the overall look of the start and the taskbar. But still, kind of interesting when you think about it. What was the minimum requirement for Windows 98? So you guys are going to have a good chuckle with this. So the minimum processor requirement was a 486DX at 66 megahertz. So that was a minimum processor that could run it. So that's before the Pentium, give you guys an idea. And I actually ran Windows 98 on a Pentium 166, which was quite powerful for Windows 98. Actually, Windows 98 was really running well with that. 16 megabytes of RAM. Imagine today we're talking about PCs with 16 gigabytes of RAM. 16 megabytes of RAM. I remember I had 32 megabytes to run it. It ran pretty well on 32 megabytes. Needed approximately 195 megabytes on the hard drive, 295 of maximum space. It required either CD-ROM or floppy because you could actually install it off of like 28 floppy disks. You needed standard sound card for sound capability. It required you to have a VGA card for the graphics. It was 100% compatible with Microsoft keyboard and mouse required. And to upgrade, you need to have either Windows 3 or Windows 95. And it included DirectX 5. Wow. Came a second edition, by the way. The second edition was available. And the second edition was pretty much the same thing, except that it required a little more disk space. And you had to have a CD-ROM in order to install the Windows 98 second edition version, which was different. And it had DirectX 6 for graphics. So kind of interesting, you know, when you think about it, 20 years ago today. And of course it was followed by the dreaded and horrible Windows ME, or Windows Millennium. Windows Millennium had one thing in its advantage. It was the first to support natively USB thumb drives. But man, did it crash. And you know, even the Windows 98. You know, we talk a lot about how computers today, you know, I just think of how reliable Windows is today. I know some of you are having crashes, but you know, you're a minority, and I'm not joking. I know a lot of people say, well, we're not a minority, look at the forums. No, you have no idea. If your PC crashes with Windows today, there's a good chance that there's something with your PC that's not right, and not with Windows, for the most part. You know, it could be bad drivers, a piece of software you're using or something, or just like a little glitch in your PC. I mean, Windows 10 does not crash on my PC at all, ever. I don't have blue screens. I don't have freezes. It's extremely reliable. But back, you know, we go back in Windows 98. Windows 98, a blue screen or freeze was part of our everyday life in Windows 98. If you guys remember that, you rarely could use your PC more than a couple of days without a crash. It was part of our lives. It was part of, you know, Windows, which is funny when you think about it, and think about how, you know, the stability came with Windows XP. Starting with Windows XP, the operating systems were rock solid suddenly. There was that was a game changer, for sure. So happy anniversary, Windows 95. And if you have fond memories or anything about Windows 98, I said 95, I think. Happy anniversary, Windows 98. And if you have fond memories with Windows 98, anything that you want to share with us, let us know. I want to know your experiences with Windows 98. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.